Hello everyone, my name is Shareholder of First National Bank and you're watching First National Banknotes. Today we're extremely excited to bring to you the third and final installment of the Stanley French Shareholder Education Forum on Derisking. Stay tuned for the details of this new edition of First National Banknotes.
A vision anticipates what may become reality. With First Future Land Loans from First National Bank, you too can envision your future home. All you need is 5% deposit and we'll give you an attractive repayment plan of up to 20 years, plus more great benefits if you build with us within the first 5 years. Our lending process is quick and hassle-free. Buy the land for your dream home today. Your future starts right now with First Future Land Loans from First National Bank. First National Bank, here for you.
Welcome back to First National Banknotes. Once again, here are the highlights from the Stanley French Shareholder Education Forum.
The cryptocurrencies, I have a question, and that is a little bit of how does it work and how would it be beneficial in the Caribbean context?
How does it work in a non-technical sense? You have this technology called blockchain, and blockchain is the foundation on which the cryptocurrencies are built. So in essence, think of it as a series of code, yeah, or zeros and ones. Let's just call it a whole set of numbers out there that is extremely secure and almost 100% hack-proof. Okay, and that is what is used to create each cryptocurrency. You have quite a few of them. And these currencies aren't recognized by a single jurisdiction. They aren't linked to a central bank. They are basically electronic currency that's borderline untraceable. The origins of Bitcoin, oddly enough, was as a result of stronger AML policies and procedures. So almost anything good we have today originated in some renegade lifestyle in the past. So Bitcoin was the currency of the pirates of the internet. And that's how they paid for transactions, illicit transactions on the internet. And as derisking and as AML became more mainstream players gravitated to Bitcoin. So in terms of how we could use it, it allows us as banks to transfer funds to other banks who are willing to accept Bitcoin as a method of payment. The problem with Bitcoin is the volatility around it. Yeah? So yesterday it was 9,000, today it's 11,000, tomorrow it's 16,000, and all of a sudden it crashes back to 4. It's not stable, it's not regulated. So that Wild West roller coaster is very pervasive. And that will keep banks out of that market in terms of using it as a means of payment. Because you take it in at 9,000, you send it off, and by the time it gets to the destination, it drops to 4. So a bank could lose. And I think that's part of the problem with relying on it right now. But to make it more stable, it needs to be regulated. And the minute regulation gets involved, the goalposts will shift, and then we'll need to pass it through some sort of exchange. And that exchange will require players on the exchange to be of a certain size, to comply with certain regulations, and then they will not de-risk you, but de-exchange you. So you'll be back to square one. So it's a vicious cycle, but it's something that we have to be mindful of. And again, it's about maintaining good practices in your bank so that you don't get de-risked by your good relations with your correspondent banks.
Back to what shareholders and consumers, what they can do about de-risking, in as much as
Wow.
It is a word that people are hearing. They're reading a little bit more. With any luck, we'll get some more message out. What can shareholders and consumers do to contribute positively to whatever the discussion is, and also to the perception, as we talked about earlier, the perception of this country, your bank. What can these shareholders that are in the room, all of your shareholders, but also consumers in general, do to contribute positively?
Okay, so I'll start by asking everyone to watch your words. Be mindful of what we say. Be mindful of what we entertain. Be mindful of who we give statements to. I have learned very quickly in my position that things that I say are wide-reaching and can have significant implications, not just on First National, but the entire banking industry. And I urge everyone to watch what we say, because the regulators, the international media, the correspondent banks are listening. And when we speak as St. Lucians, we may know what we're talking about, but when other people pick it up, they don't have a clue and they interpret it negatively. So again, the political banter that I hear on the top programs, and now they're streaming on Facebook Live, the whole world is seeing it, and I shudder to think that the president of my correspondent bank, who happens to be a Caribbean man, might actually be watching some of these programs too. And he may be thinking, it's time to get out of St. Lucia. Things aren't looking too good. I would have mentioned Belize earlier, and I don't know how many of you all knew what really happened in Belize, but all the correspondent banks pulled out. Every single one. And what that actually resulted in was, and I'm going to try to paint the picture, not to scare you, but to really bring it home to help you understand what de-risking is all about. The supermarket shelves were running empty because there was no way to pay for the 10 40-foot containers in Miami. Gasoline was running low, medical supplies. People had to resort to flying money out of the country and into Mexico, where they could try to get it transferred into the US. Money smuggling became a trade. It was probably as big as narcotics trade for a while, because money was moving across borders into Guatemala, into Mexico, being flown into the United States just to make payment. Thankfully, through a lot of discussions and negotiations, the indigenous banks in Belize found a partner who was willing to help. The funny part about it is that these very same bankers de-risked that partner in the past. And that partner is Western Union. So right now, the economy of Belize and the main correspondent for Belize continues to be Western Union. So that's how money moves in and out of the country. And banks are now going to Western Union to remit funds into the US. Okay? And before, banks were saying to Western Union, we can't have your account, your business is high risk.
Company.
You saw the list of high-risk companies over there, right?
Money transfer.
But it's a dire situation that Belize faced. And there's one other element that I want to draw a linkage to. Belize is a heavy tourism country as well. Okay? Credit card transactions come to a halt at the merchant terminals. Sandals will have to move to Scotiabank if he's not there already, because we can't remit funds to Jamaica. We can't remit funds to order new bed linens, to order food stuff. Tourism suffers. Royal Caribbean comes down to the island on their ship, and they have no way to pay any charges. They have no way to buy any provisionings. Airlines suffer as well. The one thing I could say for St. Lucia is that our Prime Minister understands de-risking. And I think he was the first prime minister that I had the privilege of hearing address the issue head on. And I know that, I believe it's 2014 or 2015, he broached this subject at a CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Guyana. And he's a strong advocate for it. We had a meeting with him recently, and I asked him to keep up the good fight. And he shared with me an experience that he had in Miami, which was very refreshing, and it told me that he got it. And that is, he used his tourism connections, because I guess we all know he is big into the tourism industry. And he had a meeting with the CEO and president of Carnival Cruise Lines. Yeah, I think it's Mick Arson. They were also able to get the president of, I think it's American Express, and also JetBlue on a conference call. And he told them what de-risking could do to the Caribbean tourism industry. And luckily for him, one of the gentlemen on the call just happened to be a board member of Bank of America. And he immediately called up a senior VP at Bank of America to get further, confirmation that what Prime Minister was saying was actually true. And they got that confirmation, and immediately these three gentlemen led a lobby on Washington to bring light to the de-risking plate. Not much has come from it yet, but there is hope, and people are becoming more aware. But what more can we do? Like I keep saying, educate and agitate. Educate your family members, educate your staff, educate people that you care about as to what this de-risking movement is all about. And let's see how we can get de-risking on a political manifesto. I'm longing for the day when I pick up a political party's manifesto, whether it be in St. Lucia or another Caribbean island, and I see actions to mitigate de-risking as a political point. Maybe one of the 5 to stay alive could be that next election time, right? But definitely we need to get it at the forefront of our citizenry in terms of what we speak about. And as shareholders, we need to connect the dots and understand that what we face when we stand in line at a bank is part of a bigger process in terms of maintaining good relations, maintaining the ability to continue being a bank and not transforming into a savings and loan, maintaining the ability to be a going concern, and not just see it as inefficiency or backwardsness or lax customer service. I know some people, maybe even in the room, will say to me at some point, it takes 30 minutes to open an account at First National, and I went to Miami and I opened an account at Bank of America in 10 minutes. Bank of America is a bank that de-risks us. We don't de-risk them. So if they want to have lax controls on their part, who are we to say they can't do it? But when they say to us, we need A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and it must be filed in this order, you either do it or they leave. And that's one of the powerful messages that I want people to understand. You can't judge us by the same standards that you would judge one of the banks. They are the control. They control what we want access to. And they set the standards extremely high, maybe even as a barrier to keep us in check.
We've now come to the end of First National Banknotes and our special edition series on the annual Stanley Friend Shareholder Education Forum. Thank you once again to all those who participated and all who watched via the program. Don't forget, we are open every Saturday morning from 8 a.m. to 12 noon at our various locations. You can view this show again right here every Sunday on Calabash TV at 8 p.m. or visit us online at www.firstnationalbankonline.com. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Sheridan Plummer. See you next time. And remember, First National Bank is here for you.